the Community Services Director, but tonight I invited Mary Bartuszek and Crystal Erickson to talk about one of their new programs that they've been doing this year, just because it just exemplifies so much of those community partnerships that we're constantly working on. And so I want to give them some time so we can spread the word to more families.
Thanks. All right, can everybody hear me okay? All right. Well, as Sandy said, my name is Crystal Erickson, and I am a parent educator and early learning teacher. And I just want to thank Sandy and the board for inviting us in to talk about some new programming that we're doing in early learning called Newborn Talk.
Yeah, it's been a vision that we've had for quite a few years, and then COVID happened and some other setbacks, and then we luckily have a staff member, Crystal herself, who is passionate, like myself, about this programming, so she took off with it and has brought it to, to this vision to life. So it is really a great program, again, and she will go into it a little bit here.
Can everybody see my slides okay? Okay, so we're going to start off with this picture. This is a great picture of Newborn Talk in action. This is actually Becky DeLuca from Mayo Clinic Health System. She's a women's health nurse practitioner, and she joined our class to talk about postpartum body and other issues for women who have just delivered. So this is a great picture, well-attended class.
And yeah, the class just started in September. We just had a kickoff, and it's a fourth trimester programming class, and it's very much a community partnership. We have lots of different organizations and that are involved in it. They come in weekly, and she's organized it. Crystal has organized it very well. So it's opened up to anybody who has a baby ages birth to 16 weeks. And it rotates around on a schedule. So the programming is 16 weeks in length, and then it just starts over again, because then they exit out. So they can come in at any point, and it's absolutely free. So.
And so the picture on this slide is of our nurse Terry. She's our Scott County public health nurse who comes every single week, and her and I co-facilitate these classes. This particular talk was on baby brain development. Yeah.
Okay, some points that we want to make sure that you're aware of in the class. The class is free. There's no pre-registration necessary. We want to make it as easy as possible for parents to participate, or any caregiver to come in with a young one. We also offer sibling care that is free as well. So if they have older kids, they can just drop them off. Again, 0 to 16 weeks in age, open enrollment, also cross-district. You don't have to be a New Prague School area school resident, district resident to attend. You're welcomed at anyone is welcomed. And it's offered year-round, which is very different from our other programming. Typically, we only run programming during the school year, and this is year-round. Crystal said she would commit to that, and so we have it on Wednesdays, and it's only stopping on holidays. So it's always going, so people who are out in the community know that it's just going to be happening. So again, our facilitators are a licensed parent educator and our public health nurse, and then we have people who come in. Each time babies are weighed each week, which is very exciting for the parents. They like that. They like to see the growth and development of how their child is doing. And of course, babies change so much each week. And there's a unique topic every week that's covered.
All right, so as we mentioned earlier, this is a community partnership. So that means each partner is contributing to the program. So from everything from funding to providing presenters and other resources. So on this slide, you will see all of the different partners that have been working with us. I bolded the organizations that and then what they're providing. So a couple of things I'd like to just point out. Scott and LeSueur County have been providing these weekly public health nurses. The Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation has provided funding for startup program development, professional development. The Duck Cup Memorial has provided funding so that we can bring in presenters on mental health and mental wellness. Mayo Health Clinic has provided a pediatrician to come in on a quarterly basis, as well as the nurse practitioner Becky DeLuca that I mentioned earlier. St. Francis is involved with a physical therapist, and the city of New Prague is providing a police officer who is car seat safety trained to come in and talk about car seat safety and other safety issues. And then the list goes on, you can see on the slide, but lots of different partners collaborating with us to make this possible. We're extremely grateful for all the support this community has given us in this new type of programming.
The goals for the program, of course, is for families to have resources and support. And we know that, children, obviously, they start out little, and we want to support them. We want the families to be connected to the school district right away, to have a positive experience. We know some families don't have great experiences with schools. So right from the beginning, we want to make sure that it's a very positive experience for them and their newborn to attend. Families, they build on friendships. I mean, we've had, through my years here, 20 plus years here, I've seen families who get to know each other in baby class, and they became like lifelong friends. So that's a goal as well. And of course, to support the development of the little babies and supporting development of, and social emotional support as well to our parents. So.
All right. So what does a typical newborn talk class look like? Well, we already mentioned that it's weekly. It's on Wednesdays from 10:45 to noon, so an hour and 15-minute class. As Mary mentioned, it does provide sibling care in the room next door. We have an ECFE paraprofessional who provides engaging and age-appropriate activities for all of those siblings while mom and baby are in the classroom next door. The babies are weighed. The nurse charts all of the weights so that we can see that babies are on track with growth. And then we follow up with concerns from the previous week, if there were any. We do check-ins where we do an activity where parents can get to know each other, other attendees, and it gives parents an opportunity to ask any question about their newborn. Then the guest presenter comes in and presents on a topic for about a half hour. It's really laid back, more of a conversation, parent-directed, and then we do a wrap-up. And because I am so passionate about ECFE, we end with an ECFE song.
This is a 12-week rotating curriculum that we have. I'm not going to go through each one, but again, it rotates around so that all of these different areas of going into all types of development are hit and touched upon for growth.
And as you'll see on this slide, there's a wide variety of topics from beginning with adjusting to parenthood in those very first days and weeks to returning to the workforce for those that will be re-entering the workforce. We also talk about the importance of play and early literacy to safety and mental health and wellness. So there's a very wide range of topics.
And the focus, of course, is on that 0 to 16 weeks. We know that infant development is just so important at that time frame, and moms are available at that time. They are off of work. They're there, so we want to make sure that they have the support that they need at that time. And of course, making that early connection again to school and to community resources.
And I wanted to point out in this picture, this is Heather Giesen with Giesen Family Chiropractic, and she is pointing out the importance of baby's spine and also things like tummy time and all of that great stuff. So a couple of facts that I just want to point out before I open up for questions, or we open up for questions. Some things that we're kind of proud of. Newborn Talk started just 12 weeks ago on September 13th. And last week, we had 10 newborns. So that is fantastic. That is like dream come true for us. Also, there are only a handful of districts providing this type of programming throughout the entire state of Minnesota, and we're one of them now, so that's really fun, a fun group, and I am in contact with other districts that are providing this, so it's fun to be a part of that group. And then again, I just want to reiterate that we are extremely grateful to all of the community partners. It just wouldn't be possible without all of the collaborating and contributions that we've received.
It was funny, the first week we were so worried, oh, who's going to show up? Nobody's going to show up. This is going to be terrible. And did we have one? We had one. We had one. And we were like, woo, hey, we had one. And then each week it's grown and grown. And now Crystal's like, we're kind of running out of room. So we're trying to figure, problem solve and figure things out, which is a great problem to have. So if you have any questions.
Mine's in the area of comment. I'm very happy that we have this program. The research is showing how important the first few months of life are for the newborn babies as far as what they are accomplishing and developing and all the different stimulations that they need. So it's wonderful that we have this program. Right on.
Thank you. Yeah. And all of the information presented to these parents is very research focused and research based.
Yeah, no one had ever heard the term infant mental health, a few years ago, and now that is a real thing. And of course, the mental health of the infant is greatly affected by the mental health of the parent. So I want to make sure that start off is right.
Mm-hmm. I just had a question. So people can start whenever they have their newborn, obviously. So it's always just rotating throughout the entire year. Just start where you start, essentially, and go for 16 weeks then? Is that how it works?
Well, originally we started with just the age range of 0 to 12 weeks, but then we quickly realized some moms aren't quite ready to get out of the house on week 1. So we opened it up to 16 weeks for a couple of reasons. One, it gives more of a chance to hit all 12 of the topics, but also I'm learning that some maternity leaves are extended longer than the 12-week period. So, and then there are those moms who are also not returning to the workforce right away. So we thought 16 would give you a range to hit those 12 weeks of topics.
And then once they finish with this class, there are other baby classes that they can join in with the ECFE program also.
Yeah. And what's also really a unique programming is you see the parents who start out with these young ones, and they become like the role model for the mom who's just coming in and being like, yep, you can do this, we got it, when they were back in that spot. So it's a really great program. I'm very proud of it.
Last week we had our very first graduate of the program. So we're 12 weeks in, and we have a mom who's returned to work today, I believe. And so we had a little graduation ceremony where she got to share what she learned from the class. She was able to pass it on to those that had just started. So that was really neat.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on down the agenda, we have our open forum portion of the meeting. We just have one today. Adam Olson, if you want to step up to the podium. State your name and go ahead. So.
All right. My name is Adam Olson. Good evening. I would like to thank the school board for letting me speak on this important issue of school safety. My name is Adam Olson, and my wife and I have been New Prague residents for the last 7.5 years. We currently have a son in kindergarten at Raven Stream Elementary, and we have twin identical girls that will be starting preschool in September of 2024. I currently am a police officer for the Savage Police Department and will be starting my 4th year there in February of 24. Currently, I'm a firearms instructor, and I'm also on the Tri-City SWAT team. Everything I am a part of in my professional life provides, I feel, the credibility needed to propose a plan making our schools safer for everyone. The current safety plan in place now of run, hide, and fight is not effective and doesn't provide any level of safety for the staff and students. It is simply not realistic and is irresponsible to expect a teacher or student to have no way to defend themselves against an evil individual with a firearm. In addition to the run, hide, and fight plan, the notion that I believe many districts go by is it won't happen here. To live under that false sense of safety is no plan at all and a disservice to staff and students. The plan itself is simple and straightforward. Staff members at all the buildings throughout the district would be carrying a handgun concealed. These staff members would obtain their concealed carry permit if they don't already have one, go through firearms/active shooter training, and remain in good standing with the state and district to continue carrying the firearm. I think a teacher should be incentivized with a pay increase, but I feel there would be enough teachers throughout the district that would carry a firearm without any increase in pay because they would want to keep the students and themselves safe. The reason why I feel teachers should be carrying a concealed handgun is because of the delayed response time from law enforcement. Due to me working in Savage and having the same dispatch system as the New Prague Police Department, I can see how many cops at any given time are working in the city. Depending on the day, besides the permanent school resource officer at the high school, there may be only one other police officer working patrol in the city. That officer could be transporting an arrestee to jail or be tied up on another call for service, which would delay a response from police and result in more carnage throughout the school. The SRO at the high school could also be delayed in responding due to a variety of reasons. Not working that day, radio not turned on, or bad reception inside the high school. It is unrealistic to expect the only SRO in the entire school district to protect all of the buildings by himself. As history has proven countless times over in these school shootings, the killing takes place before police arrive, and once they do, police end the threat and the killing stops. For example, let's look at the Nashville Covenant shooting earlier this year. On March 27th at 10:13 a.m., police received the report of a shooting inside the school. At 10:27 a.m., the shooter was neutralized by police. That is a 14-minute response time. If a teacher or several other were armed inside the school, they could have possibly engaged the shooter before police arrived and saved numerous lives. Furthermore, about the Covenant shooting was the manifesto written by the shooter. In that manifesto, the shooter talked about there being no armed security at the school, which is the exact reason why she chose to go there. Not only in school shootings, these shooters go to what's called soft targets. A soft target is a building or area where there are no firearms allowed. Oftentimes you see signs that say this building bans guns on the premise. These are the exact places that these people are purposely targeting because they know there will be nobody there allowed to properly defend themselves. When is the last time there's been a shooting at a gun range, a police department, or a school with an armed presence? These mass shootings are only occurring at buildings, schools, and events where they know no one has a gun. A real-world example of this is the house that I grew up in, which my parents currently still live in. My father put up several stickers on the doors that said, "Nothing in this house is worth risking your life for." Both of our neighbors' houses were burglarized at one point during my childhood, but ours was never touched. Put yourself in the burglar's shoes. Would you go into a house that likely has a firearm and an owner willing to defend themselves? Or would you go into a house where the owner has no firearm and no way of defending themselves? Common sense says the latter. In addition to arming the teachers and staff, I think there needs to be a whole new approach to responding to active shooter. In addition to arming staff, equipping staff, for example, with window punches for teachers on ground level classrooms that would allow the windows to break and get people out of the building. Another example would be ballistic whiteboards. These whiteboards are on wheels and can be moved to the front of the classroom door. These ballistic whiteboards are designed to take multiple rounds from a handgun, shotgun, or a rifle. These safety options and many others need to be talked about, and I look forward to speaking with the school board and superintendent further to develop a comprehensive plan that serves one purpose: to keep all staff and students safe. When myself and other parents drop our children off at school, we are entrusting you to keep them safe and return them home to us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So
So
moved.
moved.
And first and seconded, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. I'd also entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
And first and second, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. All right, let's do the board committee reports. Southwest Metro, Denny.
Yes, Southwest Metro had their monthly meeting last Tuesday, and at the meeting, we had the auditor's report of the financial status of the intermediate school district, and we have a completely clean audit, so very, very pleased with that. We had our program that was highlighted was the New Beginnings program, and it's kind of interesting that we would have a presentation from the school district here about our program for young children and young parents, because New Beginnings is a program that's very similar, except it's for teenage women who have found themselves pregnant and need a place to go to school while they're pregnant, and also while they're going to school to get their diploma. And New Beginnings does this. It has a very good program for the mothers and also for the children as well. They have a daycare center there, and that daycare is continued even as they go through on further schooling. One of the unique things that the person who runs the program, Sue Schmidt, brought up is that this is the first year that they've invited fathers of the children to become a part of the New Beginnings program as well. And this year we have two young men who decided to step forward and participate in the New Beginnings dad education program as well. In this program, they learn parenting skills. They have time to learn about being a father and what are things that are expected of you as a parent, and it gets the young dads involved at an early time in their lives with their children, and consider that a really good addition to the program. So happy that we have this addition to that New Beginnings program. And then finally we had negotiations were completed for the teachers, and we were scheduled to have the vote by the board representatives from the districts to vote on it, but we had a closed session to discuss the negotiation process and the upcoming contract that was going to be acted upon. And at that closed session, a lot of things were discussed. And when we came out of the closed session, it was decided that by a 9-2 vote, majority of the school district representatives. And that takes care of that.
Okay. How about CPAC?
No CPAC meeting this month.
Okay. Community Ed?
Community Ed, we had, well, obviously they took a big part of what I was going to talk about, the newborn, so I'm limited on what I have to discuss. But preschool enrollment is currently at 293 kids, and ECFE has 130 families participating in the weekly classes. Kids Company is fully staffed, I shouldn't say fully, they're staffed, and there's still job openings that are posted. If anyone else is hired, they can bring on more kids. And the winter catalog is online already as of November 15th, and the print will be out on December 1st.
Okay. Any legislative meeting? Nope. Early Childhood Community Coalition?
Yes, Kim spoke about the enrollment, the preschool enrollment, and we're up 9 students since the beginning of the year. And 42 students use the minibus transportation, and this service is based upon need. And that does not include students with IEPs because they are transported through the district services. There are 130 families participating in weekly ECFE classes. 15 classes are offered each week. Let's see, and then the district has received a $10,000 Southern Minnesota Initiative Award, and the grant money will be used to cover transportation costs to service in-home child care provider visits and programming off-site, online caregiver programming and classes for parents, the nature-based preschool clothing for students, equipment, and scholarships, and to create and provide welcome bags for new child care providers in the school district along with resources, to create themed totes with books and activities that ECFE staff and child care providers can check out to use with children, to help fund a child care provider appreciation event in the fall of 2024, and out-of-contract staff costs and supplies for newborn talk. And the committee, the advisory committee will meet this Wednesday. That's it.
Perfect. Joint Powers Committee?
We met twice since last we spoke. So I'm going to give you summaries of 2 meetings. The first meeting was on November 13th. The agenda items included a review of the current enrollment and budget status of the Neptune Swim Club. Current enrollment numbers total 35 swimmers, and the current budget is operating at a negative $3,654. Sandy Loxton gave a summary of the survey completed by families in October. She sent a survey out saying, hey, what do you think of this? How is it working? Where should we go with this? Second item on the agenda that night was a discussion about dissolving Neptune Swim Club and perhaps entering into a facility rental agreement with Mantis Swim Club. With this option, Mantis would manage all the aspects of the swim club and then simply rent pool time from us. Everything would be on them and none of it would be on us, and we would just get money for the rental of the pool time. The third item on the agenda was public comments. There were a lot of those. Families shared their thoughts and asked questions about replacing Neptune with the Mantis program. And they had a representative of the Mantis program there too, which was good. Joint Powers then established a task force to determine the process for making a recommendation for a decision on the available options. Members on the task force were Sandy Loxton, Matt Rinda, Sandy Lynn, and a Neptune representative, Jamie Prokish. Interested families were also asked to develop any questions that they may have for the task force to explore. We had a meeting today. So this is a summary of that one. The task force had met 3 times, and they recommended to us that we discontinue the Neptune Swim Club program and enter into a facility use agreement with Mantis. Following a discussion, the Joint Powers Board made 2 motions. Number 1 was to dissolve the Neptune Swim Club, and that was passed unanimously. And the second one was to enter into the agreement with Mantis Swim Club, contingent on attorney's recommendation, because the attorneys haven't gotten back to us yet. And that also passed unanimously. Done.
So there won't be any employees then related, to, like, we won't have to employ anybody because it'll just be a rental
That is
agreement,
correct.
That's it? Okay. Okay, Equity Committee?
Nothing.
Okay. District Advisory Committee?
So we spent quite a bit of time talking about the freshman seminar civics changes, and then we also had a nice presentation on some of the programming that's available for Native students, and so there's quite a bit of regular activity going on with that, with some cool summer activities that are worth getting a little bit more information if you happen to have a hankering for it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Mr. Volmuth.
Thank you. Our students continue to shine in the classroom as well as on the stage in the athletic competition. Just a few to point out. Congratulations to the cast, crew, and directors of the fall musical Seussical. All did a great job. Congratulations to Nellie Dawson and Peyton Schiffer. I apologize if I didn't pronounce those right, for their participation in the swim and dive finals at the state meet a few weeks back. And I know we talked about this at our study session 2 weeks ago, but another huge shout out to the girls volleyball team for taking second place in state. I ran a few numbers earlier today. New Prague competed against Minnetonka, student population of 3,500 kids, against Stillwater, population 2,700 kids, and against Wayzata, student population of 3,700 kids. And so for them to be able to get that far and give Wayzata, a very, very good Wayzata team a run, a very good run, is a huge accomplishment to the girls and the coaching team and coaching staff, as well as the families. Career and technical education continues to be a push at the high school. As a point of reference, we've had about 100 students participate in CT-related field trips so far this year to places like Scott Equipment, Dakota County Technical College, and CHART to learn more about these post-secondary opportunities in a variety of career fields. And BizTown, I got to attend BizTown with the Raven Stream 5th graders on last Wednesday. And BizTown is a really cool spot that I'm embarrassed to say I'd never been to before, but what BizTown does, it's a part of Junior Achievement. It gives students and staff and families an opportunity to have real-world learning experiences and connect their learning with what they would experience in the real world. And if anyone in this room gets a chance to go to BizTown, I would highly recommend it. We're in the final stages of debriefing the Proud Tradition and Promising Future referendum campaign. Over the past several weeks, we've worked to better understand what worked as well as enhancements that we could implement going forward. Some of these referendum-related enhancements and strategies will be utilized to transcend the referendum and can and will be used to implement things such as our strategic plan, begin the staffing budgeting process later on this year, et cetera. And we continue to be grateful and thankful for the work of people who put their time and energy into the referendum, even though it didn't go our way. Again, I want to call out district staff who stepped up big time to help with those information campaigns and sharing information, albeit at a very, very busy time of year, the beginning of a school year. I want to highlight families, staff, and staff members and members of the greater community, some of whom are here tonight, who helped with the advocacy campaign. It was really, I thought, a wonderful opportunity to bring people, stakeholders together with regards to a common cause. And so many thanks to everyone who was involved at several different levels of the campaign. Unfortunately and ultimately, the community decided that the additional funds were not necessary at this time. This doesn't mean that we cannot ask again and have a different result, especially when the margin was so narrow. But what we know is the campaign gave us an opportunity to tell our story, as well as deepen relationships within the greater community. Going forward, we'll need to continue to tell our story in the greater community, as well as rely on the relationships that have been built, and also foster new relationships as we continue to work together to fulfill our mission of supporting and engaging our students in high levels of learning, nurturing an environment where they can thrive academically, socially, and personally.
All right, thanks. Next, I'm not sure who's going to handle this one, but the first reading of the policies that were reviewed. I think there was maybe 7 or 8 of them.
Yes, does anyone have any questions? The summary provided, lists the changes that were made.
It looks like there were 7. Any?
Right.
Yeah, so I still have part of my concerns last time on 620 were addressed, but the way I understand the purpose statement of this policy is to address the transfer of student credit from out-of-state private and homeschooling and online learning programs, and to address how the school district will recognize student achievement obtained outside of the school district. And so what is unclear in there is it doesn't seem to address the category of other learning environments and other education activities and opportunities. And so every single one of the policy implementations for receiving credit is either an accredited school, an online school, post college enrollment, while concurrent with your high school classes and things like that. And we don't address what types of outside of the classroom opportunities we want to recognize with credit, and how you would know that, and how you would apply for it, and what criteria we would judge whether or not it's appropriate.
So to summarize and clarify, because I can
Sure
try
thing.
to get more information, I don't know if I'll be able to answer it, but you're hoping for us to better define what other means throughout that policy. And when we say that, what I hear you say is define other, what kind, and then also the location, where
Yep.
of the other? Does that summarize it?
Yeah. Like, I think our students are doing tons of cool things that wouldn't match a traditional school environment. For example, many of them have been in music classes from the time they were in the 5th or 6th grade all the way through high school, and they are very accomplished musicians. That could be something that could fall into this other learning environment, where surely 6 or 7 years of weekly lessons might be something that we should recognize with credit. I'm a big fan of employment. As well, as far as kids who are gaining real-world skills on a consistent basis. That could be something that we could consider recognizing. My kids attend a religious class from 5:50 to 6:40 a.m. every single morning before school. I don't think you can understand Western civilization and literature without an understanding, even if it's just literary, of the Bible, right? I think those are things we don't provide in our school, and it's well worthwhile that kids are spending time. That some of these things we could choose to recognize and award credit.
Is that clear? I mean,
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
I think it's others still big, right? And there's
Yep.
a lot to that. I think it's going to be hard to define. I'll have to go back and look at the statute or look at the 620 and read it again and see if I can provide any more information for the board.
But I'm assuming there's going to be statutes of what allows us to be able to, there's probably going to be some guardrails there, I'm assuming, on, okay.
And alternatively, if we won't recognize others, we shouldn't include it in our policy, and we should just say the only things we will recognize
Are these-
credentialed institutions and things like that, and we're not interested in recognizing credit on any of these other things.
Okay, noted. Any other questions or comments on these 7? Okay. All right, let's move to our section on our action items. So first up, we have the approval of the high school course update proposal. I know we have a couple of individuals here. All right.
Good evening. This presentation is a follow-up from our district advisory proposal from 2 weeks ago, along with our conversation that we had with you at the last board work session. So a lot of this information is review, but there are some additional details that we wanted to provide to you tonight. And that includes, so we are seeking approval for a new Crafts 2 course, along with revisiting the senior civics course that was approved in February of 2021, looking for approval for adding a full semester of world history, so students would have a full year of world history, as currently they have 1 semester, along with dropping the freshman seminar course from the registration guide.
So to begin, we're asking to add Crafts 2 to the registration guide. This would be a new high school elective. As you can see, it really expands upon what is learned in Crafts 1 and would really increase the pathway for our arts students or students interested in arts. It would also increase the number of electives offered to students at the high school. We feel that the costs associated with starting this course would be very appropriate and manageable, along with the course fee being in line with other courses in our art department currently. Next, as we shift into our social studies adjustments that we discussed a moment ago, we would like to move civics to 12th grade due to civic engagement opportunities within our communities. Also, just anecdotally, state statute does require us to offer civics in either the 11th or 12th grade year by 2028. So this would put us in line with that as well. Throughout this process of looking at this, we did do an audit of our world history program, and what we found is that in looking at comparable high schools to us in the state of Minnesota, most, if not all, currently offer world history as a year-long course. And so we feel that it would be better suited as a year-long course, and this would put us in alignment with that. We do always look for areas of improvement. We do recognize that as we look back at the freshman social seminar process that was done to adopt that course, the course adoption was done quickly, and it did not go to the district advisory committee for review. That is why we are bringing forward a very comprehensive process to you for consideration this evening. We do also would like to recognize that moving forward, all of our content in world history and civics would be focused on meeting the Minnesota state standards for social studies. As I just mentioned, we're proposing these well in advance and early so that we can ensure a thorough process is followed prior to implementing the courses in the fall of 24. This would include further district advisory committee involvement and review, along with checks and balances from our school and district administrative teams. Moving civics, as many of you may remember, moving civics to 12th grade was originally part of the plan that was proposed. That was the intent of moving civics to 12th grade, so really this is in alignment with that. We recognize that more time and additional input in the development of this by coming to you early will allow us to create a high-quality learning experience for all students. We do want to make sure that we have a thorough process laid out, and that's what we hope to do for you this evening.
So as you may recall, we had, back in 2021, the school board did approve the new course being added of freshman social seminar to the registration guide, and that was approved along with the assumption that then those students in that cohort, which are our current juniors, would take civics then their 12th grade year. And so we are continuing to be in line with that. It's just that we are removing the freshman social seminar class for future freshmen and replacing it with a full year of world history. As Brian mentioned, this does align with our analysis of many area districts, along with keeping the statute, which was recently passed, and so we'll be on track to ensure that we're following those guidelines as well. And again, this would ensure that world history would be offered for a full year, and so our staff would be able to ensure that they're following those standards and keep us in line with other high schools as well.
And so on the next couple of slides, you'll be able to see we have laid out just what the changes we're proposing are in pretty great detail. The first one is just the courses that are currently offered and what the requirements would be. So the number of credits for social studies credits would not change. It would remain at 7. And then we also are providing a couple of slides. This one speaks more specifically to the world history course and aligns what the expansion of that into 2 semesters would be from 1 semester. So you can see the units that would be followed there in line with the social studies standards. And then also the senior civics course, we wanted to provide a unit by unit overview of what the content of that course would be as well. And so you can see that here along with the social studies standards that would be covered in that course. So in conclusion, the things we're putting forth to you this evening for consideration are the addition of a Crafts 2 course to expand our elective offerings at the high school. We're putting forth the idea of moving civics to 12th grade. We're also looking for the opportunity to expand our world history course to be a full year-long course instead of 1 semester. We do believe that this is the right alignment for New Prague High School at this time, and our staff are definitely in support of that as well in our social studies department at the high school. Are there any questions that we can answer in regard to this proposal?
Curriculum for world history as a full year would go into the standards in greater depth, but it wouldn't add any. We've covered those standards in the past, just not in that much depth. So we're going to be able to elongate that learning of each one.
As we look at the different areas of the world, there, you're right, in 1 semester, there's only so much time to be able to go, so it will increase the level of depth.
Yeah.
We also learned a lot through our process of one of the instructional strategies that was done in our freshman social seminar course is a Socratic seminar, and that facilitates discussion in the classroom, and so that will allow us to go in more depth in those areas and have discussion amongst students in the classroom on that content, correct?
So will the Socratic method be used in the world history class then?
That will be an instructional strategy that we continue to utilize at the high school.
Great, thanks.
And so, if I understand this correctly, from the implementation in 2021, there's 2 things that are changing. We're changing our civic strategy, and then we're changing our approval of curriculum strategy to have a better outcome. Is that a correct understanding?
Because I can't speak to the approval of curriculum piece. What we're doing here is, can you repeat that question one more time?
So, from 2021, it appears that with our class offerings, we're changing our strategy of how we address civics through the high school, as well as changing our approval strategy for new curriculum.
I see.
Is that a fair understanding of what's here being
Thanks.
proposed?
I would answer that by saying we feel that civics is more appropriate in an older age. And so that's really the intent of moving civics there, because it will increase some community engagement opportunities that we can have for our students. In regard to the curriculum approval process, the textbook for civics will remain the same as the primary curricular resource. And we just want to make sure to have a thorough process, and that's why we brought this forward to the District Advisory Committee and plan to bring it forward again for review one more time in February, just to provide an update on the course design.
It's really a matter of timing and relevancy when it comes to the civic class. Because in ninth grade, it isn't the best time, nor is it as relevant to the students as it is when they're seniors in high school.
Correct.
So I think it's a good idea from that standpoint to have it be as relevant as possible to them.
You know, and when we implemented kind of the reason I say that it's a pretty significant change in strategy, when we implemented the freshman seminar, it was our intention, the way I understood it, was to spread civics education starting earlier to prepare them for the more advanced senior course, which it appears that we're removing one of the key components that we identified of preparing them for the later grades of civics. Is that
I don't think that was the intent at all. It was to move it to a later, to when they were older, so that they would have a deeper understanding and be able to apply it better.
I don't remember that as being
I
the
don't-
rationale behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I went back, because I was attending the meetings when we discussed this the first time. And so, for example, in February and May of 2021 is when we addressed these, and there was a lot of concern from the community about the content of the curriculum, which was one of the reasons why we were concerned about how it was being implemented. And for example, one of the slides says, "Isn't senior year too late for students to learn civics? They may be of voting age before taking this class and may not take civics at all if they opt for political science instead." And the district's response to that question is, senior year is not the only year that they are exposed to civic standards. In this model, we will be exposed to these standards in grades 9 through 12. Students would learn civics in grade 9, the introductory course, grade 10, growth in America, and grade 12, either the civics or political science. You know, and so it's a pretty major shift in strategy of addressing civics of what we said in 2021. And it doesn't seem like that was our initial plan when we set out. And so,
Well, it wasn't your plan at all, because you weren't on the board, Dan. And when you're saying we, you didn't discuss it at that time, the board did.
so I was using we. I can use you if you feel more comfortable. I figured since
Yeah.
we're a
I
district
would just
and we're a team.
I would just assume you not use we and include
Okay.
me in your thoughts.
All right, and so I'll say that when the district presented this to us, we said 2025 and beyond, freshman seminar, American civics, or political science. We said you said, I apologize, starting in fall 2021, all ninth graders would take the ninth grade seminar and then take the civics class in fall of 2025. You said, opportunity to add foundational skills-based course for ninth graders. Foundational sounds like it's a permanent plan. Foundational skills for all humanities-based courses are part of the ninth grade seminar. Media literacy, digital citizenship, civic values and principles, historical text and nonfiction literacy, historical thinking skills.
I guess
You said adding a
you-
foundational ninth grade
I
course
didn't say
allows
that,
more
Dan.
time on more challenging standards in grades 10th and 12th. You said students will have further exposure and more in-depth instruction in grade 12. And then you said the standards we are implementing are foundational and not likely to shift substantially. And so I am mildly concerned that we are talking about pre-planned and minor shift in strategy when we are going, it appears, opposite of what was presented when we introduced the freshman seminar. And I think we should discuss that carefully and explain why we don't think our foundational freshman seminar course is achieving the goals it set out to when we developed the time, money, and put the resources into it just a couple years ago.
I guess my question to follow up on that then would be, so what standards of civics are we maybe no longer going to be using in freshman year that we were under our current model, I guess?
Yeah, we wouldn't be dropping any of the required civic standards. I think when we talk about offering this at a later grade level, it provides us to go into an even greater level of depth and increase the relevance for our students based on the age that they would be taking the course. So we would not be dropping any required standards from the state of Minnesota.
Would some of them be shifted from ninth grade to a later class?
Correct.
To a later period? So they would all be occurring in?
Correct.
Which years would they be occurring now compared to?
It would be occurring in 12th grade.
All
Is
of
where
them in 12th
where
grade.
those civic standards
Okay.
would be done. Obviously, some of those would be discussed in the growth and modern America courses that Mr. Culp discussed a minute ago as well.
Sure, okay.
So the civic standards obviously are covered in the civics course, but they can be cross-curricular too. So I can have a civic standard in my world literature course if it applies in some way. I can have a civic standard you can have it in your new world history course if it applies in some way. So they could be getting this multi-years. Okay, thanks.
But that's really the purpose of this change isn't to cover the same types of materials in world history. It is to delay civics education until the senior year. Is that and whatever was still in the 10th grade. Is that a fair, the types of civics education that we implemented in the freshman seminar?
Well, I think when we look back at world history and the history of that course in New Prague, actually, I believe there was precedent of when different schedules, that course has gone through a few different iterations. So actually, when we look at when we were on a 4-period days, world history was offered year-round as a year-long course. I believe then when we moved to a 5-period day on trimesters, it was 2 trimesters out of the 3. And then when we moved to a 7-period day is I believe where that moved to a 1-semester course. And what we're finding is that's just not enough time to cover that content in the level of depth that we would like to do. And so we believe, and the department believes, that offering world history for a year is appropriate from that standpoint, along with when we looked at, I believe it was 17 other school districts we took a look at. I believe it was 16 out of the 17 were offering world history in a year-long capacity. And so we felt like that was, as part of our analysis, again, a good reaffirmation that would be the right offering at New Prague High School as well.
And then with the development of the curriculum for grade 12, there's quite a few complaints about the freshman seminar curriculum that I'm aware of. I have a couple of my own that I've submitted, some academic rigor problems, and then some bias in education, which we were assured wasn't going to be in there. Why do we think going through the district advisory committee and this longer process is going to prevent those types of things from getting into the curriculum? In this longer developed course, on the previous freshman seminar, we were assured that stuff wouldn't make it into the curriculum as well, which there's some clear examples of it having been. And so how do we think this change in approval process is going to prevent that from occurring?
Point of order. You keep saying we, and I'm not included in what you're saying, okay? Can you be a little more direct on what you're speaking about? Because I don't want to be included in that.
All right. So when the board and when the district promised this, they promised that the curriculum would be neutral and that there would not be any political bias and things like that were introduced in the classroom because of the process it was going to be approved in and because of credentialing of teachers and those kinds of things. And so when the district, not we, the district, goes through this process to develop the new curriculum, how are we going to make sure that we don't just transfer all the problems in our freshman seminar to where we're going to address those types of topics apparently in the senior civics course?
Can I ask something? The problems that I can use you, the problems that you see as being biased, is it possible that that is your opinion and that it may not be? So to address something that is an opinion is different than addressing something that is a fact. So if you're looking at doing strategic planning or doing curriculum planning based on opinions, I think that gets into a really sketchy area.
Yeah, and so like, for example, there's a couple that are easiest to understand examples that I use for demonstrating bias in some of the slide decks that I've seen. You know, one is a misquoting of the Constitution, right, which leads to a change in definition, which leads to a misunderstanding in the students about what the preamble to the Constitution means. And even after the teacher was made aware of that, the slide deck didn't get updated. The misquoted definitions and things like that remained in to fit with the flavor of the course, right? And so, for example, when they discuss guns, that's a good example of where 95% of the slide deck explains all the problems with guns, and nowhere does it address supposedly the opposing arguments in any meaningful way. I've looked at the entire slide deck. My daughter went through the seminar last year, right, and we talked about it regularly. And she definitely was under the impression that, her teacher, the way she understood she was told is that if she wanted to present other items and other points of views, she had to come up with all that information all by herself. And so you have a heavy slide deck that explains one point of view, no information on the other point of view, and then students being responsible to rebut everything. That's not what we were told as parents was going to be in the freshman seminar. It was going to be a balanced look at the issues to give students the ability to think critically, and that is missing in some of the slide decks at least.
So you look at some of the slide decks and you think, in your opinion, that they are biased.
I think you can get to a fairly reasonable.
I think it's your opinion.
I think it's your opinion, and I also don't think it's a school board issue. I think that's something that's based on the curriculum in that school, and I'm not sure that we need to talk about it right now.
So 2 pieces with that, right? Whenever you evaluate anything, there's a certain level of opinion, right? The district teacher's opinion is that there's nothing amiss there, right? Mark's opinion is that we have no responsibility for curriculum.
No.
Minnesota statute
Put
says,
words in his mouth.
he says we shouldn't be talking curriculum. It's a school level item.
He said we shouldn't be talking this
Yes.
point.
All right.
In a classroom, in one grade, in one
Because
class.
what we're discussing at this point is.
And we're listening
whether
to a sermon.
The shift from a freshman seminar to a civics course and adding a course. So I understand you feel there are things that are occurring within our district that are biased towards a certain direction. That's really not the topic at hand right now, because
Right.
we're actually looking at approving what we just discussed right here. So I know that might be a separate issue that you have with the freshman seminar course right now, but that's really not what we're discussing.
So when we discuss these issues, we have a strong preference of not looking back at the past, right? So I've brought these items up, and I've been told multiple times, what's done in the past is done. And to a certain extent, that's true. You can't change the past, right? But if we don't evaluate where we came from and we just change our class plan again, and then repeat some of the same mistakes that created dissatisfaction, that will make our referendums harder to pass, that will cost us students, and maybe we don't care. And that's fine if we don't care. We don't have to cater to everything. But the board says that I'm wrong, and has anybody reviewed any of the slide decks on the board about the freshman seminar in any meaningful way?
First of all, I didn't say you were wrong. I said it's your opinion. And you use the word mistakes, and I think that's incredibly biased because you're using that word from your opinion. And so if I'm a teacher in that class and we have a difference of an opinion, it doesn't mean I'm in error. It might not be that you're in error, but a mistake is a loaded word, and I think that's unfair. And I think what Matt said is also true, is that we're not here to judge the intricacies of this course. We're here to look at the course and say, okay, we're going to move it from here to here, and then we're gonna use world history as a full year, and that's our charge right now. So anything else that goes beyond that isn't what we're talking about right now. It's what you're talking about. It's not what's on the agenda.
As far as you using the word "we" all the time, that doesn't include me, Dan. Don't state things that I said or think, because you don't know that.
So it appears to me.
I move that we approve this high school course.
Could I jump in for a second? Do you mind?
Yes.
So I wasn't here in 2021, and I think there are 2 issues on the table. So to your point, what you're asking for us to do is to re-examine. I'm gonna put words in your mouth, Dan, because I want to better understand it, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, right? So you want to make sure that bias isn't in our curriculum or in our teaching. Is that correct?
There will always be bias. I think we should be honest about it, and we should be practical in how we're willing to look at it.
So one of the things and one of the reasons why I understand we've got to this point, and again, I wasn't here, is that as we re-examine this, we didn't bring this through the District Advisory Council in the past, correct? And so part of the process and part of that re-examination, if you will, is though we can't change the past, but you're right, we can learn from it, is so that we give Mr. Thorstad and his team enough time to create a class where we, and one of the guardrails, if you will, is that we can do our best to minimize the bias that is presented. Bringing it to you today in November for the fall of 2024 is to give the high school team, the social studies department, that time to have that planning. It'll also be then brought back through the District Advisory Council that in hindsight, right, we wish would it have done before, and as I understand, you're on the District Advisory Council, you have then an opportunity to speak to it at that time to put up those guardrails, if you will, to help mitigate that concern. Is that fair?
Possibly. Right.
The devil's in the details,
Yeah,
right?
the devil's always in the
but
details.
I want to be, I think it's clear that we've heard some of those concerns. And again, I wasn't here, so I wasn't here in February, May of 2021. But the issue at hand, this is an opportunity for us to address some of those things going forward.
And I think the high school should be commended for doing this in a timely fashion. Instead of rushing it through, they're giving us adequate time to look at it, to go through it, and to establish the parameters. And I think that's outstanding, instead of rushing it through.
So again, we're gonna ask the board to consider this, and I sorry, Mr. Mark, I apologize for jumping in, but with the understanding that that bias and those guardrails, I continue to use that word, as something that we continue to think about as we go forward, as we create this course. And again, we'll have opportunities to, you and I think Jean are a part of District Advisory, have an opportunity to hear what some of those guardrails may be as this course is being continually developed.
I'd like to point out, too, that at that last district advisory committee, the 2 student representatives on that committee both had high praise for the freshman seminar, which they both had taken.
So I jumped in. I don't want to, I do think there are 2 issues at hand.
And I just have a 15-second statement. You know, one of the things we talk about is making everybody feel welcome. You know, and when we passed the referendum, even though I voted against it, I said we. I'm a member of this community. I'm a member of this board. I'm a member of this district. You know, some members of this board said if you don't like it, go leave, right? I think that's a mistake that we can make as a board if we don't say, even if we disagree, even if I don't agree with the decisions of the board, I still recognize, even if I vote against them, I still use the term we, because we are part of this governing body, we make decisions, and we do things, and that's fine.
You use the word "we" very broadly, and you blend it right into your opinions. You do that a lot, and I don't want to be included in your opinions. I think that's my right.
I'll use the word "we" when I'm talking about school district stuff and community stuff, and I'm sorry that offends you, but hopefully we can get past that.
And bias is a really, really tough word to be using, too. What is one person's bias is another person's free speech. And you cannot regulate it out of existence, because we all have preconceived notions as to how some things are. And is that bias? Yeah, it could be called bias, but it's something that's part of human nature. And we all carry that bias gene in us. And to completely eliminate bias from all our school doings is impossible.
I absolutely agree with that. And so whenever we say we have no bias in our curriculum, whenever we say we have no bias in our freshman seminar, that's always a red flag. There's always some amount, and I agree 100% with what you said there, Denny. But I'm good. I don't have anything else.
All right, so I have a
I
motion.
move.
I have a motion on the table to approve.
I second.
First and seconded. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you.
Can I?
Thank you.
I actually want to ask a clarifying question. I know I shouldn't probably ask this question, but why did you vote no right there? I don't understand. You're against civics being
So,
moved to 12th grade, or
So-
what was your issue there? What was your
yeah,
what did you take
so
issue
for
with?
me, I take exception to, at the last working session, we said this was always our plan. At this meeting, we kind of say this is always our plan, and this is what we intended from the start. And so I think changing until we recognize why we got to where we were with the freshman seminar, what our intent was, before we just go on to a new intent and not address why the other intent failed. I think it's a mistake, and you're just shooting at moving targets all the time.
I mean, I think that's making the assumption that our team, our leaders are looking at this and just flying off the cuff. I think they've evaluated the issue. I mean, based on what they said, there's an issue here at hand. They think they're going in the wrong direction, and we want to go a different direction. And we're making recommendations, and we're going to go through the process of making a recommendation to these new classes come the spring. So okay, that's fine. You don't need to answer anymore. I just was.
There's no clear explanation to me why the freshman seminar isn't doing what we said it was going to do when we started it. And so until we answer that question, it's hard for me to know why we're getting rid of it.
Okay. Got it. All right. Next on the agenda is a resolution for establishing combined polling places.
Yep, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to consider the resolution establishing combined polling places for multiple precincts and designating hours during which the polling places will remain open for voting for school district elections not held on the day of a statewide election. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider the following resolution. Pursuant to Minnesota statutes, each combined polling place must be a polling place that has been designated by a county or municipality. The following combined polling places are established to serve the precinct specified for all school district special and general elections not held on the same day as a statewide election. St. Patrick's Social Hall, Jordan, Minnesota. Elko, Newmarket City Hall, Elko, Newmarket, Minnesota. Immaculate Conception Church Civic Center, Lonsdale, Minnesota. Wheatland Town Hall, Vesely, Minnesota. New Prague Fitness Aquatic Center, New Prague, Minnesota. New Prague Fitness Aquatic Center, New Prague, Minnesota. Pursuant to Minnesota statutes, the polling places will remain open for voting for school district elections not held on the same day as a statewide election between the hours of 7 o'clock a.m. and 8 o'clock p.m. How do you vote on this, Karen?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dennis? Yes. Item passes 7-0.
All right, then last on the agenda is the resolution to accept a donation from Coburn's.
At this time, I'll consider a motion to consider the resolution accepting a donation from Coburn's MORE Rewards Program.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider the following resolution. Whereas the school board may accept the gift valued at $1,000 or more only by adoption of a resolution by 2/3 of its members, and whereas Coburn's Incorporated, through their MORE Rewards Program, wishes to donate $1,000.31 to Raven Stream Elementary, now be it resolved, the New Prague Area School Board of Education shall accept the donation under no conditions. How do you vote on this, Dan?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Dennis, yes. Item passes 7-0.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
And first and second, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 7-0. 7-10.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll sometime when I'm in town, or I'll give you a call, yeah.
I'll get some more information.